Season 2, Show 2. We're Show 2, not Show Tunes. Not yet, at least. Not that I know of. Hey, everybody. Zak Clayton, President, Founder, Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channel. And we are back for our second show of the year. We have Stephanie and Diamond with us right now, and our wonderful guest today, who is this is a wonderful triumph story, because she came from ovarian cancer to where now she's raising other people and helping them to feel better about themselves. I know that cancer is very defeatist, and I know that a lot of people can never pull themselves mentally out of it, because as we've talked before, when you get sick, it's so hard on everything. And if your mind is not right, you don't ever get healthy. And we're in a system right now where it's really kind of difficult to do that with the way that doctors and the whole system is set up. But she's going to be joining us. Melanie is going to be joining us as soon as we're done here, and talk about this a little bit more. But right now, I'd like to introduce Steph Simoes, the goddess of the grape. How are you doing, sweetie?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited to hear from Melanie. I heard bits and pieces of the story prior, but I'm really excited to do the show and be live with her and hear firsthand, how she overcame all of that and what she's doing to move forward. So yay. I'm happy to be here. Hi, everybody. My name is Stephanie Simoes. I work with nonprofit organizations and people year round to assist with fundraising through One Hope Wine. So what I do is I specialize in fundraising, gifting, private wine events, and wine delivery. And as I always say, when you pour a glass of wine or send a gift, it's really a great feeling to know that that bottle is making an impact for a nonprofit organization that's important to you. Yes, you get to choose where that donation is going. Zak and I run a monthly show highlighting smaller nonprofit organizations to help them fundraise, but most importantly, to get their mission out there to more people. So if you're not there yet, you can follow our monthly mission at Community Pay It Forward, One Hope Fundraiser on Facebook. You can easily find it on my link tree that's right there on the screen. Also, it looked like you were going to say something, Zak. I was looking at you. My husband and I founded New Heights Homestead. So we're actually traveling almost 600 miles with our 5 children and our animals, gosh, in just a few weeks, to build a mountaintop homestead from the ground up. So our goal is not only to have a more natural approach for our family, but to be able to support our community and nonprofits that we love through this space. So if you're curious about topics like homesteading, off-grid living, animals, non-traditional home designs like container home builds, and more natural living topics, growing food, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and come on the journey with us at New Heights Homestead. Through our real estate side of the business, we are also investing in rentals down there, bringing that mission with us with a focus on veteran housing, as you guys know. But this mission, what we're here for today, is really important to me because in the last few years working in the nonprofit space, I've learned so much about where our systems are lacking in support. So I truly believe that education and resources for those needing assistance is really important to bring the number of losses in the other direction. So with all that said, on to Diamond. I can't wait to hear from her, and I'm just excited to be here. Thank you so much, Zak, for having me.
Our halfway show is coming up this week, and I have a strange feeling it's going to be a really, really good show. We've had a lot of really good shows, but I just have a great feeling about the interview that's going to happen and the responses we've got that we're going to have this week on Wednesday. I think it's going to be a really, really good show. Don't you?
I do. I feel like, the topics that are being spoken about, those people, the organization, everything, definitely check it out because it was a great interview. Yeah, hint. If you didn't get the hint, we kind of pre-recorded the show.
Yeah, we pre-recorded it because one of our guests was out being a world traveler right now, so she's out spreading the great word of the human contract. So it's So we recorded on Saturday, and it's really a fascinating show. So, Diamond, it seems like we haven't spoke to you for a year. I mean, like a whole calendar year. It seems like forever. Where
I
have you
know.
been?
I know. I was like kind of hiding in the comments for a while because I wasn't like able to be on camera, but I'm here. I've been looking forward to this all day to hear just Melanie's story and to be with you guys. I was half expecting, oh my gosh, I can't remember his name, but I was half expecting him to be here, but it's all good. We are all family. We are all here in spirit.
You know, the first post I saw this morning was your post about, you know, your feeling, a beautiful picture of you, and where you were just talking about how you were feeling inspired and feeling great, and it made me smile because, you know, it's just your posts are always so inspiring, and they just, there's a lot to them with very little being said, which I think is great, because I'm that guy who it takes me 43 words to say hello, you know. So you're just the opposite.
I'm appreciative. Thank you. I'm like, whew, you can never know with the algorithm what people are thinking, because like some people see it, some people don't, and it just makes me happy to know that I'm like a positive force in the world. Like that's my leading question for 2024. It's like, how can I be of greatest service to the whole?
My thing is, Diamond, I think you ought to just keep doing what you do, because I think you do a great job. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Diamond Drip Consulting?
Yeah, so that is my company. And what I do in that is I have recently switched my title to intuitive business healer, because that just feels more what I'm doing. Like I assist and empower women to make aligned business decisions, and that stems from just a deeper awareness of self. I've been doing a lot of work in my absence with human design, which is this amazing tool that just it helps you see areas in your life where you maybe let fear take the wheel instead of being able to trust that like innate voice, that innate wisdom from within that society tells us is not enough, because they want us to seek answers outside of ourselves. And it's been a really cool journey. Just one, using the tool on myself, because it's helping me heal some just childhood wounds. It's also a great tool for parents because it's helping me understand my 6-year-old who cannot tell me what's going on in that little mind of hers. And just helping other parents to see, you know, and understand their children. So Diamond Drip Consulting, it has a number of programs. The main one right now is again, helping women with their business. I deal a lot with technology and branding and marketing. So making sure that you have systems in place that allow you to do what you love and leave like the tedious emails and the text message reminders and the funnels to technology, because that's what it's there for. You plug it in, you do the ones and zeros, and it can't do what you do, which is provide an awesome transformation. So that is me. Thank you.
You know what? I've learned a new respect for you guys with small humans again, because you know we're taking care of a 11 and a 5-year-old right now. My wife's best friend is having surgery in she had surgery in New Mexico, so her kids are up here in Colorado, and then it goes to -8 degrees. You know, these kids have never they were born in Wisconsin, but they've been in New Mexico for like 5 years, you know, and all of a sudden we get this drastic weather change. And so, you know, but like it's a whole new respect, because I kind of forgot what having kids was like. All right. My child, my baby is 22 years old. And now having these young humans running back around the house is kind of a weird thing. You know, I'm used to being the one who's immature. Okay, I still kind of am, but I mean, still, it is a whole new life. So, well, ladies, again, I'm excited for this. We talk a lot about how we want to make sure that we focus on every aspect that we can with mental health. And I truly, after my accident, the mental health side of recovery was probably damaged even more than the fractures in my skull, my face, and my neck. The mental health of not being able to get the help that you needed, and having people telling you, this or that. So our guest today recovered from ovarian cancer, and she's wrote a book that the Ovary Jones, and I get a notification right there. And she runs a program called the Ovary Jones Show on LinkedIn, and it opens to a new tab. Look at that. Wow, thank God I did that. But her show is actually on on YouTube. So, but you can go there. So let's just go on ahead and bring her on. Melanie, how are you?
I'm well, Zach. It's so good to see you and Stephanie and Hyman. Thank you. And everybody. I appreciate having me here.
Yeah. I know I left out a whole bunch on your on what you do, because you do a lot. You do a lot to help people. You go and you sing and lose your voice.
I do not sing. That is the one thing I don't do.
The first time I saw her, she had no voice, and I was we barely met each other, and she had no voice, and I'm asking, and she was going on a trip, and I said, "Are you going there to continue to sing?"
Yes, no.
And she's and with her no voice, she was like, no, that's not me. So, but so I still have to comment on that. But Melanie, tell us a little bit about what happened and your journey with recovery.
So thank you, Zach. So it's a brand new year, right? So imagine, a lot of people love to set New Year's goals, right? Business goals. And that's what I'm all about, because I am a business coach. And so this is the time of the year we set new goals, and we're excited to roll up our sleeves and dive in and, just have an amazing year. But imagine, instead of reaching your goals this year, your doctor told you you were going to die. Like, what would you do? So it's been 5 years since my doctor told me I only had months to live. And I will tell you, that is a big thing to hear. Not a fun thing to hear. But I was really annoyed, because I was diagnosed on New Year's Eve, 2018. And my oncologist told me, "Don't worry, Melanie, I'm going to keep you out of pain to the very end." That was her message of hope to me. I had a grapefruit-sized tumor crushing my spinal column, and it was causing me to feel like I was being electrocuted. And I was really frustrated, because I had goals for 2019, and cancer didn't make an appointment, and dying wasn't on my to-do list. So, spoiler alert, I am not dead. I had an 11% shot at survival, but
thank God for that. I was
right. 11 isn't 0. And friends, I'm not a bit mad that my doctor was wrong.
Did it, what was the effect on you when they told you, did you kind of take it like, do you have any idea who the hell I am? And why are you telling me that I'm going to die? You don't know me.
Yeah, no. It was a lot to take in, and they're doctors, right? So they've got to know. And so I was trying to come to grips with, I guess this is it, and I remember coming back from radiation one day, a couple days after I was diagnosed, and my son was sitting in the room writing a note because he thought he missed me. And we had a nice little visit. When he left, I picked up that notebook that he was writing in, and he said, "Mom, you don't have to worry about me. This is going to be the hardest thing I ever go through, but I'm going to get through it and you're going to be proud of me. Don't worry about me. Enjoy heaven. And that's when it got really real, really fast. And, what do you do? And I was so consumed in mourning my own passing that I almost forgot that I was still alive. And I think that's the one thing that we all have to do. Everybody watching, you guys here, we're alive. And it's a gift. And if we can stay present in the moment, who knows how much time we all have left? Nobody knows that, but we're all right here, right now.
When was it that the switch in your head, when was it that it was like, you know what? I'm not dead. I don't want to die. I'm going to make a change to things. And what was it that brought that on?
Well, I always knew I didn't want to die, first of all, but I wasn't kind of like, okay. But it took me a little bit, and it took a really wise coach and colleague who said to me, what would it take, Melanie, for you to be thankful for your cancer? And I thought she had fallen off her rocker and hit her little head, like there is no way I could be thankful for my cancer. But she really persisted. What would it take for you to be thankful right here, right now, in the moment? And it really planted a seed. And I started focusing on, okay, what am I grateful for? And the first thing I was grateful for is that I didn't get hit by a bus. I mean, I had time to tell my family, tell everybody how much I love them. And, I had that time. And then, of course, as time started to progress, I started really focusing on my gratitude and more what I could be thankful for and staying in the moment, because we spend so much of our time worrying about the future or regretting the past that we're just not right here in the moment. And right here in the moment, we're all good.
Diamond, did you have anything?
Oh, I was literally just scratching my head, but I do agree. Like, we do spend a lot of time living in the past or thinking about the future. So to be present and grateful for the moment is just such a blessing. But I'm going to say blessing. So
blessing's just fine. Stephanie?
I'll jump in. So obviously, I mean, you went through probably standard treatment as they recommended, right? Or was there anything that you did differently than most people in your situation would do? Because you came out with different results. So, was it your mindset? Was it different activities? Did you do things in addition to what the doctors were recommending for you? I'm just curious what approach you took to the whole situation.
Yeah. So I always say that I am here because God hasn't called me home yet. Right. So I will always go back to that. I didn't cure my cancer. However, what I will say is we can have a whole big, huge impact on our lives in every aspect with our mindset. And so there is research finally now that is catching up to us, and it is confirming the role mindset plays on our health. So there's a study of breast cancer patients showing the impact of integrating mind with the body care. And those patients who focused on their mindset and did all the things, the bulking surgery, the chemo, the whatever, we got great doctors focusing on our bodies. But when we integrate the mindset piece of that and really work on the mental health side, those patients had a 45% lower risk of recurrence and a 56% lower risk of dying from breast cancer. So the research is catching up with us. And I always say, what did I do differently? I was so blessed. I always say my career saved my life, because I had been working on mindset with my clients and with myself for the years leading up to that life quake. And I hate to think where I would have been if I didn't have that one coach challenge my perspective and help me stay in the moment.
What was the first thought when you heard you're cancer free?
Well, I don't know. So with a cancer diagnosis like that, a lot of times people never really feel completely out of the woods. So when you live, it's called NED, right? For those of you that have had people that they know gone through cancer, if you've gone through cancer yourself, it's no evidence of disease. And so there's all kinds of feelings. And this is kind of something I've been focusing on with my podcast lately, is the survivorhood, because we have a lot of feelings dealing with the diagnosis, but we've got all kinds of people helping us through all of the battle. But when we get that survivor title, then everybody, suddenly kind of gone. We don't have a team of oncologists anymore monitoring our every thought and move and, action. So we're kind of on our own. So coming to terms with the survivorhood, there's a lot of survivor guilt. There's a lot of emotions. It's a new ball of emotions that you have to kind of unravel. I can't say that it's like, it feels great, because it does, but it changes you. And so you see things through different lenses from now and forevermore, right? And it can either make you better or it can make you bitter. I've just been working on making it better. And, I wrote my book and focusing on helping people through it. And that gave purpose to my storm.
You want to tell us a little bit about your book?
Sure. It's called Becoming Ovary Jones, How to Fight Cancer Without Losing Your Mind. And when I got through, when I rang the bell, so the last chemo treatment, you ring the bell and it's kind of a moment, right, that you have. And that evening, the day that I rang the bell, I went to a banquet for my son who was graduating, and we were seated randomly at different tables with different families. And so I got to talking to the guy across from me, and I just said, "So what do you do for a living?" And he said, "I'm a gynecological oncologist." I said, "Of course you are, because I can't get rid of you people." And I told him that I had just rung the bell that day. He made fun of my, just, in kindly, but teased that he could see my wig. And it wasn't that great of a wig. I trust me. But we got to talking, and he commented on my attitude. And I said, well, it just happens to be that I am a business success coach, and we work a lot on mindset. And of course, the old saying, attitude determines your altitude. So attitude's a big part of it. And he said these 3 words that I never forgot, which is mindset impacts outcomes. And that was the first time I had ever heard that stated so clearly. And so I challenged him on that, and he doubled down. He said, mindset impacts outcomes. And I thought, why am I just learning about this the day I rang the bell? Why didn't I learn about this when I was just newly diagnosed? And so it has been my mission ever since to be talking about mindset impacts outcomes in every aspect of our life. And I have been banging that drum ever since.
What, with those 3 words, what was the biggest change that you felt? Like when you started to initially use mindset affects outcomes, what was the first thing that you felt change?
So Zach, what I felt when I heard those words, because again, it was at the end, what I felt was confirmation. And I thought, exactly, that's what I've been talking about, right? And so I could feel it early in the diagnosis when I started to make the shift from woe is me, this always happens to me, some of the inner critic mindset pieces that we all kind of wrestle with, doom and gloom, to what am I thankful for? How can I stay present in the moment? What can I do to for other people? There were a lot of things, actually, is kind of what the whole book is about. But the feeling is night and day, because instead of the negativity, you're tapping into, I'm still here. I still have purpose. Until I draw my last breath, I still have purpose on this planet. And when you have a purpose-driven life, it's just different in a beautiful way.
Ladies?
Oh my gosh, I'm just like loving it so much, because this is exactly like the work that I've been doing, like uncovering that link between the mind and the body, and how the mind can just like, especially once it's been conditioned, like I literally read today that for generator children with sacral authority, they're supposed to respond with like and sacral sounds. But in this society, we've been conditioned to believe that those are impolite. And so what happens is they suppress that just innate urge to express themselves in that way. And it develops into like thyroid issues, because their voice is like literally they're having to like resist this innate purge. And like those instances of kind of like conditioning and trauma to the body at that young age, as we like mature, like that shows up as health issues. Mm-hmm. It shows up as, you know, all of this. So it's just one of those things where it's like, I am like so happy that like you had already started the path of like mindset work with the business success coaching. And when you got that, you know, terminal diagnosis, it was like, this is just, you know, that like, this is one of the things. It's like the obstacle is not going to get bigger. The person is going to get bigger, and I'm going to get through this. So I'm just like,
I love that, Diamond. I absolutely love that. And it is so true. And it's every aspect, it permeates every aspect of our life. So surgeons are intrigued and fascinated by the will to live, right? Why can some patients just go through Herculean strength to overcome, you know, impossible odds, and, you know, while others don't? But, you know, sports enthusiasts are just obsessed with the will to win, right? And of course, as business coaches, we're fascinated with the will to succeed. But that will, that mindset permeates every aspect of our life. I have a friend of mine who is a very successful, good-looking guy, and he was successful in every other area of his life, but he was alone. He could not find love. And he had everything going for him. So women were not scarce. But as soon as one would, his words, scratch at his heart, as soon as he felt like he was falling, he would Forrest Gump it right out the door. And he finally hired a relationship coach. And in their first session, the light bulb came on, and he realized he associated love with pain. And even his language, scratching his heart and falling, indicated his deep-seated belief that love equals pain. And that's what kept him from what he wanted the most. So every aspect of our life is impacted by our mindset. And I'm just so fascinated by that. This is just the very beginning. We're just now getting confirmation by the research that, you know, the power of the mind. So this is all we're going, I foresee, you know, this is Martin Luther King Day, right? So I have a dream that as we move forward into the future, we're going to learn how to harness the power of our mind more and more and more. And I can't even imagine what we're going to be able to accomplish and what we're going to be able to do and how healthy we're going to be able to be harnessing the power of our mind. I'm excited.
Stephanie?
So I love that you used Lifequake when you were explaining, you know, your experience, because it's relatable, right? You know, even if someone hasn't gone through exactly what you went through, many people have their own version of a quake that happens in their lives in some shape or form at some point, maybe different points. But I love that so much. Mindset impacts outcomes. And I truly do believe, well, the people who are successful are open to growing and open to learning more, right? So it all really does make a lot of sense. And so your purpose is really to help people now that are going through something, right? Through your book, is that helping people, like, guide them through their kind of quake in their lives in different ways?
Yes, Stephanie. So I appreciate you bringing that up, because my life quake was cancer. It's not the only life quake, unfortunately, that I will go through. I'll have more storms in life. We all go through storms in life. Mine happened to be called cancer, but you all have gone through challenges also. We are either going into a storm, we're in a storm, or we're coming out of a storm. That's life, right? And if we're waiting until everything's right to be happy, we're missing out on a lot of life. So we can't just wait until all of the things are just right. We've got to figure out how to dance in the storms, how to have meaning and find purpose in the storms. And what are we growing? What are we learning? So, and I appreciate you also, Stephanie, bringing up my purpose, because writing Becoming Ovary Jones was definitely something that, talk about mindset. Anytime you're writing and you're pouring your heart out, you always have that little Miss Mediocrity whispering in your ear. Nobody's going to read this. Who do you think you are, an author? And I kept flicking Miss Mediocrity off my shoulder day in and day out. And I was like, if just one person reads this and finds value in the words that I pen, then it's all worthwhile. And I will say, I didn't expect it to become an Amazon bestseller. I didn't expect people to write messages. Like, I never even thought, when I've read great books before, to look up the author and track them down on social media. So I was really surprised. The first message I got was from a woman named Keisha, and she's from the UK. And she wrote, "You got me through my darkest days. Love to you, Miss Ovary Jones." And I have memorized those words because they meant so much to me. And it didn't matter if I never got any messages ever again. That one message, Keisha, was the one that I wrote that book for. And it's just been incredible. So my purpose on this planet is to become while helping others to become, because we're always becoming. There is no finish line. So, and every year I kind of play around with what I'm becoming. So I am becoming resilient. I am becoming impactful. And I'm ultimately becoming more and more fulfilled every day, every hour. And I'm helping others become resilient, impactful, and fulfilled.
So unfortunately, my internet is starting to fluctuate due to this wonderful weather the United States is going through. So if I lose you guys, I'm sorry. I will get back in as soon as I can. But I'm loving this conversation. Tell me this, Melanie. What is a New Year's resolution like for you now? Because this happened on New Year's Eve. And now it's got to be so much more, even if it's not per se a resolution, it's got to be so much more powerful now, because now you've seen the ugly face of the demise.
So every year, thank you, Zach. Every year now, I try to slip away around New Year's to reflect. And so when we go through a life quake, it's just not one chapter ends and a new chapter begins. When you really go through a life quake, it shakes you up. The pieces fall apart, and the pieces don't always go back together quite the same. You never see life quite the same again. And so I have a friend of mine whose wife beat ovarian cancer 22 years ago. And every year she slips away somewhere in the world to reflect on the gratitude that she has, the blessings that she's had, and the impact that that has had on her life. And so I try to do that now also. And so I just got back into the country. As a matter of fact, when you and I spoke, I had just gotten back, I believe, but I slipped away to another country and somewhere tropical where this weather wasn't, where it wasn't, where it was warmer. And I was reflecting on all the blessings that the last 5 years have ushered in, and all of the things that I still want to pour out, and I still want to help, and I still want to increase my impact, and I want to serve. And I think when we focus our life on getting, then everything is kind of short-lived. But when we focus on giving, it has so much more meaning. So I want to focus on giving, not giving, on serving, not selling, realizing that everything that I pour out always comes back in tremendous love and fulfillment, which is what this year is all about for me.
And it's just beautiful. Your son, and this is the reason I ask. I've never done this before. I am not an author, but I would invite everybody to go and read. It's on my website. It's called You Will Never Know. And I talk about a young man who lived to be 11 years old, and we wrote him off. We as adults, multiple times we wrote him off. He's sick. This is going to be it. This is it. He's done it. I wrote this story after he finally did pass, because he will never know how much he changed my life on the aspect of, we don't know when the end's coming, like you said. Yeah. We don't know the strength of a person and their perseverance that they can take on. This little 11-year-old boy took more punishment, more tests that these doctors put him through, because he had something to prove. He wanted to find a cure for other little kids who are suffering from this. And when he was done, he talked to God and he said, God, I'm tired. I'm done. And he will never know how much his strength affected my life. How does your son feel now, knowing that you found that note? What is his thoughts?
Well, I actually have 3 kids. The oldest name is Nicholas, and Nick was the one that wrote that letter. And then I have a pair of twins, boy-girl twins, because God knew I'd never be able to tell them apart.
Huh.
Twins, by the way, are not buy one, get one free. Just saying. But anyway, so I'm extremely proud of all 3 of my children. It was something that, one person doesn't go through cancer. The whole family goes through a diagnosis like that. And so I'm very proud of all of them for really just standing up in the storm, not crumbling, and, just focusing on the day. So Nicholas has done a phenomenal job, and I really am proud of him. And I'm just so blessed to be here seeing all the progress that he has made. And I can tell him how proud I am of him. And as he continues to grow, but he's now a young adult. All my children are also, but he now has 3 investment properties, and he is just an incredible entrepreneur. I couldn't be any prouder of my kids, but they got stronger through that storm. And so, I always ask myself, how can I be thankful for my cancer? One of the things that I'm thankful for is how my kids became more resilient through that storm, the impact it had on their life.
Well, Stephanie, if you had nothing else to talk to her about, we've got something now, huh?
Well, I'm also a twin mom, so we share that in common. But Melanie, it's so funny as you're speaking. It's almost like a very similar storm and life to kind of what we experienced here. So, and it's really funny the way you described it, that if you can just help one person. Zach, I'm sure you've heard me say that many a times. I share our story about pandas and pans that's impacted my son. It's not rare. It's just rarely diagnosed. Actually, this month, about this time this month, 8 years ago is when our storm started. And I just feel like we're starting to release it and move forward from it. And it's true that, everybody is stronger coming out the other side of it. But this farm dream that we had, that we're now finally moving to, we had then, and everything was put at a standstill because medical bills were out of pocket for him. And of course, nothing is more important than the health of your child, right?
Mhm.
So, and I share a lot often, and I share on my social channels, because it is at least 1 in 200 kids, and it's often misdiagnosed. So I always say, if our story can help just one other family get their child in front of the right doctor a little bit more quickly, then it's all worth it, So that's kind of our health conscious approach to the farm and the diet and the food and all of that. But I love hearing from you in a completely different perspective, but the message is so similar, of how you just want to help people through your purpose and through your storm and what you've been through. And kudos to your kiddos for coming out stronger. And I love the entrepreneurship too. Oh my goodness. I can keep going, Zach, so I'm going to stop now. But I love all of it so much. So do you share about those things too on your YouTube channel? Can you talk about that a little bit?
So on my YouTube channel, yes, it's really a lot about, I really wanted to create a platform for survivors and people that have gone through storms, so that they could share their experiences, some tips, some things that they've learned. But most importantly, there's hope when we're not alone. A lot of times we're going to feel like we've got our back up against the ropes, and, it can be very frustrating because we've planned our whole life out and it's supposed to be so great. And now I didn't expect this storm to blow in, right? So it's really a lot of people who have had experiences like that, what they learned from those experiences. And what I have found that so many survivors have shared was they were thankful for that thorn in their side. They were thankful for that storm because it shifted their perspective. And in many cases, they changed the trajectory of their career, or they changed something about themselves. And they now live on purpose, much more intentionally, grateful every day for that storm. So, the pieces don't go back together exactly the way they fell apart. They go back differently. And it's the storms in our lives that we learn from, and the storms that we can share to help other people too. So Becoming Ovary Jones is on Amazon. Anybody can pick that up. The podcast is really just trying to let other people share their stories and share the lessons they learned in the storms of life. Because when we're looking for them, we can find the silver linings in all of the storms that we go through. But sometimes we have to look for them.
There's times, and there's not a single person on this screen right now. There's not a single person that's watching this that's not went through something where their first thought was, how am I going to get through this? What the hell do I have to do to get through what I'm going through? And persistence, and just not giving up, not giving up. Going ahead, please.
Well, we're also better together. So research shows that the Holocaust survivors who actually talked about the ugly, the worst of it, and they actually talked about it, they did far better rebounding. So talking about it, sharing it. And I would say anybody who feels like you've got your back up against the ropes for whatever reason, how can you be thankful for this thorn in your side? And I know right away it's hard to come up with something, but really challenge yourself, dig deep, and find things that you can be thankful for in the moment. I had a client about 7 or 8 years ago, got into coaching. And it's always fascinating to me why people get into coaching. Some people want to grow their businesses. Some people, want to manage their day better or have less stress or whatever it is. But Carrie got into coaching and she was in her mid 60s. And so a lot of times people get into our coaching program because we're really big, honestly, in financial advisors world, mortgage, insurance, like sales, heavy sales related, very, very corporate. So when Carrie got into coaching, she was in her mid 60s and her husband had just passed away recently of 40 years. And she got into coaching in September. I said, what is it that you want from coaching? And she goes, well, everybody tiptoes around me and I need to figure out how to go into this next chapter, being a widow. And my career, she was in mortgage. She's gotten a little stale for her. So I want to fall in love with my business. I want to find passion in my life again. I want joy. I want peace. And I want to succeed in my business. Her business is kind of like had trickled off, So anyway, she got into coaching in August, I think it was August, September. And before we know it, it's the holidays. And I knew it was going to be really, really tough on her. And so I said, Carrie, let's talk about gratitude. I want you to come up with 22 things that you're grateful for. And she sent me an email a couple days later. She said, I could only come up with 12. And I wrote the most difficult email I have ever written, 3 words. And it said, dig deeper, Carrie. I was so nervous to hit the send button because I was like, I pray and hope she understands the compassion that I have for her right in this moment. And about 2 hours later, I got the reply and I'm like, oh, too soon. It's like the jury's coming back way too soon, right? And I was nervous to open up that email. And I opened it up and she said, wow. She said, I got home and realized how thankful I am for the automatic lights that I didn't have to fumble around in the dark. She said, I let my dogs out and I realized how thankful I was for my fence that I didn't have to go out in the cold and accompany them. She got out her vacuum cleaner and she realized how grateful she was that she could still keep her own house. And the list went on and on, much past 22. And so, in that hospital bed, I had to say, dig deeper, Melanie. And it was hard to come up with 22 things that I was grateful for in the moment. And so what I will say to anybody who's going through a life quake, come up with 22 things that you're grateful for right now, because they're all over the place. We can program our mind to see the good, or we will see the bad, because we have negative, we see the negative much easier than we see the positive. We have to program ourselves to see the positive, right? So program yourself to see the good. If we're looking for the good, what do you think we're going to find? We're going to find more good, right? But it's easy to do, but it's also easy not to do. And most people don't. But let's be uncommon. Let's search for the good. Let's find things to be thankful for, even when we're up against a life quake.
Diamond, let me ask you, you also are a coach, and what are you hearing right now? I would love to get your thoughts on what you're hearing, and maybe comparison or even contrast.
Yeah, no, I was literally just listening to Melanie just now, and I was like, because in the last year of coaching, I've been very much a proponent of metrics outside of the self. So like, you come to me at the beginning of 6 months, you don't know what you're doing. By the end, you're going to have measurable results. You're going to have an online presence. You're going to have these things. But mindset work has always been something that I knew was important, especially with like my journey in overcoming depression. Like, it's super important. And this going into this year, I've really been struggling because that little, what is it, Miss Mediocrity, that little voice has been like, so you just want to like help people feel better, like, and not talk about business as much. Like, I don't think anyone's going to go for that. They know you for business. Like, and to just hear the story of how Melanie helped her client was like, go deeper. Like, sometimes people just need that little extra push when they don't think that they can dig deeper or think of the positive or whatever it is. Like, that can be so crucial for somebody. And it's just honestly, like, besides the fact that you like, you know, beat cancer, like that's amazing in itself, but just the work that you're doing, just as a success coach in this work is so beautiful, and it's needed. It's one of those things that I feel like every business coach should do a little mindset work. We don't always. In my case, it was because of fear, because I didn't think anybody would, you know, listen to me. But it's so important and it's so necessary. And I'm just like all of the love right now.
I love the little graphics you've got going. That is so cool. What did that mean to you, Melanie?
Well, I just want to really encourage you, Diamond, to lean in, because mindset impacts every aspect of our life. Mindset impacts outcomes. Mindset impacts income. Mindset impacts everything. So as a business coach, if somebody's goal is to, you know, double their income, we can reverse engineer. We can, you know, figure out exactly what they need in order to do that. But if they have fear, or if they believe that they can't do it, they're not going to do it. So we have to coach them on mindset, because otherwise they're going to get up and, you know, to the batter's box and think, oh, I hope I don't strike out. Right. And if they're going at anything with that kind of apprehension, they're going to strike out. Right. So if we really want our clients to be successful, we have to lean in, and we have to understand that mindset is what's going to make them or break them. And it's, of course, their habits, but all of their habits are intertwined with their mindset. If they believe that, oh, I can't really be more efficient with my time, or I'm not a morning person, or I like to just be spontaneous, all of those beliefs are impacting their business. And if we get stuck in those thought holes and we never challenge them, and we as coaches, we don't challenge people to challenge their own thought holes, to think differently, then they're going to get the same results that they've always gotten. And that's not why they've hired you.
Well, as you know, Henry Ford put it, whether you think you can or whether you think you can, you're right, you know. So Stephanie,
I believe it was Ford that also said nothing happens until people sell something.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Well,
I might be in trouble there, but
yeah, I coach a lot of salespeople, so that's why I know that one right off the top.
Yeah.
Melanie, I just have to say, you have such an energy about you. So I can't even believe the time. It's flown
I know,
by just having this conversation. It's really, really awesome. But I would really encourage anybody watching to connect with Melanie, to read her book, because no matter what your storm is, you know, and whatever side of it you're on, I think that this will really help to get you through. I would also really encourage people to connect with you. Just, I know for us, connecting with the people who understood our situation got me through that situation, because we were hitting brick walls with doctors, with, you know, family, friends, people who just didn't understand the storm we were really in. So truly, that kind of network that you're trying to create through your channels with, you know, people sharing their experiences, you just having an outlet for that is invaluable. I don't know if anybody's told you that yet, but just hearing that you're offering that is incredible. So I would really just encourage people to check out her channels and connect with her there, because that's huge. I know for us, it was life-saving for me to be able to be that strength to get us through. So that's awesome.
We are all stronger together. So I appreciate that, Stephanie, and I've really appreciated our time together. And yes, it did fly by. But what I will say is, we have a human shared experience, and nobody escapes without going through storms. And that was one of probably the most fascinating, or dare I say weird, comment that I got about my book was from people that didn't have cancer. And they were telling me how much they got out of reading my book. And I'm thinking to myself, well, why did you read it? Like, I don't know. But it is true. We all go through storms. For me, the big one, it was called cancer, but we all go through different storms. We all have to do the same thing, which is build up a healthy, strong, thriving mindset. And if I could leave you with one thought, it is, we are just at the very beginning. Research is catching up to us, but focus is power. Mindset is so powerful. And if you want to level up your business, if you want to be healthier, if you want to, whatever you want to do, it's going to come down to your mindset. So 2024, brand new year, let's crush some goals and see what kind of an impact we can make in our communities.
We say it every show, no one needs to go it alone when we all come together. This is the perfect way to, unfortunately, have to bring this show to an end, because again, this show just needs to be longer. That's all there is to it. Unfortunately, we're all a little busy. I do want to bring this up, and I brought it up, in which you all will hear it on Wednesday, but I brought it up with our last guest. I met Melanie right here on Event Raptor at 2:00 tomorrow Eastern. They have a meeting. Go to this website, get into that meeting, because you meet some wonderful people. You hear some wonderful stories. And if you're a podcaster, if you're a storyteller, if you're a speaker, it's a free networking program, and there are people from everywhere. And they're not paying me to put this up there. I'm putting this up there because Melanie, our guests from Wednesday night, I've met these great people from here. Everyone has a story to tell. We need to make sure we're telling each other stories. Melanie, thank you for coming and telling us your story. Thank you so very much. I appreciate it. When does your show air?
Well, I know consistency is a big thing. I happen to have my fingers in a whole lot of things right now. So I have a lot of previous episodes. I just did my 5-year episode from Antigua. It was, just me actually, which I have guests. I've never actually done just a solo show, but I did do a solo show from Antigua, just talking about, survivorhood and the new, just being 5 years. But I do have a lot of good guests coming up. So kind of just be on the lookout, and hopefully connect with me on LinkedIn. You'll always see them.
All right. Your LinkedIn is, wrong one. All right.
There you go.
So there's your LinkedIn. People can always get a hold of you. So Stephanie, before you have to disappear, what have you learned today?
There's a lot of strength in community, and Melanie's providing a strong foundation for that. And you are incredible for getting through what you went through. I just want to leave with that. There's a reason why you're here. You're meant to be here.
It's a God.
Thanks for being here on the show.
Thank you.
Diamond?
Yeah, the thing that I learned is something that I think I probably said it on our episode, but it's to feel the fear and do it anyway, because mindset is so important. It's one of those things that but you forget, because for whatever reason, life be lifing, and we forget that we have control over how we interpret the world that we live in. So I'm just really grateful for your presence here.
Oh, thank you, Diamond.
Look, and I'm just going to say it. Nobody has to go it alone when we all come together. And that's what we've learned. I want to thank you, all three of you, thank you so very much. Ladies, we will be talking to you two again next week. Melanie, I'll probably be talking to you a little bit tomorrow at some point in time. So thank you all very much. Please remember to love somebody out there, because there are people out here who love you. Nobody has to go it alone when we all come together. And if you're not helping somebody, why? If you're not helping, you're hurting everyone. Thank you very much. And join us again next week when we try to find a way to help people out of bad situations.